different.
Very interesting what he had to say about tax credits for solar and I don't know what he's. Well, I do know what he's doing, but I need to figure this out because it's actually quite genius. And I'm actually in construction, but I do stone.
Defrauding people to ruin the environment.
So there's $4.2 trillion in the infrastructure bill for solar credits that Obama started, and then Biden solidified, and he doesn't think the Republicans are going to kill it because they're benefiting from it. And basically, you have to go commercial, not residential, but he told me all about it, what he's doing. It's actually quite smart. He came up really hard, really fast.
A lot of farmers did that for a bit around here. They were getting credits for their solar, and they were able to cover their barns. And these solar companies would basically do it for free because they got the credits.
Exactly. So BlackRock knows about this, and they're heavily into this, and they're financing the deals. So they're paying for everything, and then the tax credits come in, and they're charging the government like $400,000 for like a much cheaper job.
It's gonna get wrecked when Elon takes on Doge. All that crap will be going away.
Well, it's not going away until 2032, and $4.2 trillion is a lot of money.
They're gonna clean house, man. All those guys scamming
that's probably gonna go away. Shit like that.
Completely wrecked. It's about time too.
Yeah.
People are
They
so
ended up
Elon
nobody
can't do
does it
shit.
anymore here because it basically became unprofitable really quick. The
You know, look at
got wise.
It makes my soul feel warm. There's so many Canadians concerned.
Concerned about what?
About the money that's not available to Canadians.
Well, no, like Doge is going to come in. Elon's going to clean up the states. Like, there's just all this hope.
Yeah, we're rooting for you, John.
Thank you. We need it.
Which was your Costco executive member award?
What's that, Chris?
How much was your Costco executive member award this year?
I don't know what that means. I went to Costco for the first time in 10 years the other night.
They give you your cash back.
Oh, my wife deals with all that. I have no clue.
It's crazy that I get paid to be a member of this exclusive club.
Yeah, I know my wife says she makes pretty good money off it, too. Like, I think she gets 2% back or something, and she's like, I get paid, basically. If she went with the regular membership, it would be cheaper, but like this executive one or whatever pays for itself many times over.
Yeah, like, I always get like $200 to $300 back, and the membership costs $130. So it's like, okay.
$200 to $300 a year?
Yeah, I get a check for it. But the membership costs $130.
I'm afraid that my wife's was a lot bigger than that.
They maxed it out at looks like the annual 2% annual reward cap will increase from $1,000 to $1,250.
Okay.
So can't make one.
Yeah. I thought she said $1,000 number to me the one time, but I don't know. I don't remember. But I also know she buys stuff for like the school and church and runs it through her card or whatever. So like she'll get a lot of points off, stuff like that.
Wait, what did I miss in the chat? It says, Chris, at least take advantage of the opportunity and make her sign a minimum amount of sex, sandwiches, foot massage. What happened?
Oh, we're just talking alpha stuff.
Sounds really alpha.
I'm actually starting to feel bad for you, bud.
Don't.
I really want those. All those shoes? Yeah, I'll take anything. I really want those.
Dude, I'm getting a check from my Welsh Simple account. Dave, it's awesome that I can make 3.75% interest on my checking account. I have to lock it up.
Well, I think what's nice, Chris, my understanding, you guys don't have to pay tax on that interest earned, right?
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay. I thought if it was in that account, you'd know.
That's a big tax on that.
Yeah, like that's the shitter. I mean, even when rates were like at 5, you know, like it's great, but then you're paying interest or tax on all your interest.
I think the fact that I don't have to put it in my IC, it's just the fact that it's the money that's just in my checking. It's such a good bank. You're one of these online banks.
Yeah, it's huge because like JP Morgan here will give you like 0.25%, I believe. Bitcoin.
Jimmy will have his entry price revenge.
Why is all the animosity? You niggas got in at like $5 in the fucking, you know, $5 in a donkey. You guys, 2021, you know what I mean? You couldn't buy pussy with that. Now you motherfuckers, kings, and little Jimmy just wants low 300. Let me live.
Excuse me. You look extremely confident. What makes you confident? Excuse me. You look extremely confident. What makes you confident?
Nice.com on it. Over. Hakuna Matata.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the only difference between us then is that you're saying that faith is logically prior or logically the cause of being born.
Yes. And
That's the difference.
That's the difference. Yes, it is. That's right. Yes, that's what I'm saying is why, and that's the reason why the conversation goes away.
I'm just asking questions. If you notice, there's just a bunch of questions I'm asking, but it's all good.
But you're trying to prove a point, and you just get to what you're trying to say.
Well, I don't think people. You know, I grew up in the church as well. I don't think that the people of the same denomination, right, are giving the same message to people, right, to everyone in the church at the same time, the same way. I think there is messaging that goes on. I think there is misalignment within the same denomination, right? And I don't think that just because you review a curriculum and the curriculum is communicated effectively to a teacher, that the teacher is necessarily going to follow through with that. But you said that's impossible. You said
no.
It would always be uniform.
Okay, the misunderstanding. Hold on. Okay. Is there going to be a teacher that maybe says something or that I don't necessarily agree with or confuses my son, and we can have a conversation? Sure. How many Baptists can we put in a room and we can argue over different principles of what it means to be a Baptist, what it means to be a Protestant, a Presbyterian, evangelical, Catholic? This is very common within our faith. This is a common thing. There's no such thing as one line of belief amongst any denomination of Christianity. That's a part of the journey. All that I care about is that my children are around and taught by people who hold faith and believe in the Trinity and believe in Jesus and God, and there it is there. And if they mess up or there's a miscommunication or I don't like it, I have the privilege as a parent to go down and say, hey, this teacher said this, I don't agree with this. Can I get rid of this teacher, or can we have an understanding? Not I don't want to get her fired, but let's just keep my kid out of that classroom. I'm confused. That's what a parent does, right?
The bottom line is when you're putting your child in a Catholic church or a Catholic school, the principles largely are going to be the same as your faith. There might be small differences. Hell, we can argue whether there's a hell or not, right? Because where is it at in the original scripts, right? We could go into these things. And now all of a sudden what happens, though, is Mr. Good's child comes home and says, hey, Mom, we were in class today, and so-and-so said that there's not really a hell. Well, let's have that discussion. Let's dig into it. Okay, I say that the scripture says this. Yeah, but they said that. Now you have an open dialogue with the child. And guess what? I've had situations like this with my son. He literally had a teacher who was pushing politics in a classroom. And he fired back. And he came home upset because you tried to basically make him feel stupid. And so he asked, well, did you explain what the deal was to me? So I did. He went back to school the next day and laid it out for her. And she had nothing to say. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Okay? The conversation was done and over. She tried to influence a whole classroom of kids. And in my opinion, gave them false information. Not my opinion, fact. But guess what? That child comes home to you and can say, hey, the teacher said this. But largely the principles are the same. Okay, when my kid went to public school, there was no discussion of religion. There was no discussion of sexual orientations. There was none of that stuff. And if something came up, the school counselor was notified. And then guess who got a phone call? Me. And the school was amazing. My son, he was going to school. We tried to go through school. We were good. Me and his mom were splitting up. That was a tough thing for him. School was great. They didn't try to impede on that situation. They didn't try to do anything. They straight-laced it, and that's the way our public school should be ran. Do not get involved in that. Speak to a counselor. The counselor, he can express himself to the counselor, and then the counselor can reach out to us if there's an issue. That's how simple it is. The public schools are not in a position, they're not trained, and they should not be trained to sit there and help a child determine their sexual preference, their pronouns, or any of that. That has no business in our education system. And people can say it sure does, because you want to normalize it, and that's you and your little group. That's not where it belongs. Science, history, math, let's get into it. Let's get into those things. Social studies. We can talk social studies. They're a lot different when you get into college than what you learn in high school.
don't social studies involve like politics, different movements, the way people think about different things?
Wouldn't that be history?
That's government class.
It's called the civics class, which you can start taking in your sophomore year and at least private school.
Civics, history, and social studies.
Yep. Absolutely, and that's wonderful. I want my children to know what the Democrats believe in, and what communists believe in, and what Marxists believe in. The issue isn't we want to shield them from all of this. That's not the problem, right? We particularly put our children through schools that have our religion to keep them and to keep God in their lives as long as possible. But we understand that there's going to be topics where they talk about people who disagree with their beliefs. And I like knowing that at least they have a teacher that can say, hey, this is what other people believe in. Now, if any teacher tells my child that if they believe in this, they're going to hell, I'm going to beat that teacher's ass. Because if my son grows up to be a Democrat or whatever the case is, still going to love him, and that's okay. He has that right. Not trying to indoctrinate, not trying to cult my children, but what's important to me is that they're educated. Know all the branches of government, know the American history, learn where you came from. AP Euro is an amazing thing. AP US history, Asian history, Middle Eastern history, North American history, great. Grasp it all. And then my child has an environment where he had Christ growing up, he had education, and he can choose. It's his choice now. And if he chooses to deviate from what I put him in, that's his choice. At least I, as a parent, gave him everything that I can. So what's wrong with that?
Well, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying that how can you have real social studies and real history without talking about the ways in which people look at gender? I don't know. Like, how do you do
easily that? You don't confuse the issue of gender early on. You can tell the stories without making them a referendum on gender in the elementary school ages. If you want to talk about gender in the 8th grade, when most people are feeling, antsy and in middle school and doing their thing and discovering their bodies, right, like that's a little bit different. But having kids confront sexuality and identity as elementary school kids doesn't really further the truthfulness of history. It just furthers a view that kids should see gender as fluid. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I came from a household that was very buttoned up. My best buddy in middle school came out to me as gay, and so he knew what was going on, but we were in the 8th grade, right? Like, we'd been friends for a couple of years. He'd known that he felt a little funny, and he came to me. He was like, "Hey, bro, I think I'm gay." I'm like, "All right, tight, bro. Like, let's go back to playing lightsabers. We love Star Wars." And I didn't need to confuse myself at that age with Marlon being gay or not gay. The only thing I needed to know was that my friend thought it was important to tell me something important, right? But the fluidity of gender, quote unquote, is not something elementary school kids need. And to be frank, I wouldn't even try to confuse middle school kids, right? You let the middle school kids be angsty as they usually are, but steering in on gender identity in the discussion of history is going to make history inaccurate. It's not going to be very truthful.
You're talking about, if you're having a social studies.
Hold on.
You're talking about.
Chill. All right. So there's some new people that have come in, and I get it. We have spent, 2.5 hours now talking about gender identity, politics, and gender this or that, or trans. And it's been interesting. I don't necessarily agree with everybody's statements on it, nor do I disagree with a lot of statements. But again, this is the Political Compass. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to here. Today's headline topic was, what did the Dems, did they get the message that America sent them? Did the Democrat Party, the DNC machine, the people who said, you don't understand the economy, you don't understand what's going on, you're too stupid to know this, but trust us, it's doing great. Did they get the message Americans sent them? Did the RNC get the message that Americans sent them? Or did they finally bend the knee and say, yes, Donald Trump's vision for the Republican Party going forward is something we're going to have to bend the knee to, acquiesce to? These are questions that I had I had issues of today. Because I've been hopping around Clubhouse, Twitter, You Speak It, you name the app, and I've been listening to people in my journey to Texas. And I say that with an asterisk.
Wait, did you move to Texas?
Yes, I did. So,
I'm dead.
And so, again, in my journey across the state, I saw a lot of relief, particularly in the Midwest. I saw a lot of a collective sigh, if you will. These people have been often ignored. They felt it. I've traveled through small town to small town. I purposely kept off the highways while I journeyed down, and it was fantastic. It was really unique to see a wide collection. I do not recommend Texarkana to fucking anybody. No one ever go visit that shithole of a town. Stay out of it for as long as you live.
Hey, Brad, I got a question for you.
No, hold on. You can have your questions in a minute. So what I want to do is kind of collectively revert back to my original thought was, did the political classes actually hear your voices? Did they get it? Because I have Democrats screaming, oh, you're just too idiotic to actually realize what went on. And then I have Republican leaders saying, well, we just elected the worst of us, and we're going to fail as a nation. And I have people in the middle saying, I don't know about that. And then I have the ones that are resignedly hate everybody saying, yes, this is what we want. So now you can ask your questions. I want to bring it back. I want to get it off of LGBTQ. Let's roll. Let's see who's got the next one.
I was going to ask you about the whole Texas thing. I live in Texas. As a person that went to go visit California and lived there for 4 or 5 years, I realized Democrats don't know how to run a fucking city or state or even country. Because if you living in Texas, you see how the cost of living is. You see how everything in general is it evens out. You pay and how much you pay for whatever the case may be like. So it's just yeah. And I think that I think
there's only one thing in this.
They still sitting there sobbing and crying and shit like that about everything, and instead of learning from the mistake and everything else like that, they think that the economy is great when it's not. Just because your pocket's mean is good doesn't mean that your neighbor's is good. But that's what I wanted to say.
Hey, I just moved from California to Texas to paradise every single day.
So I just watched Jon Stewart go off for about 15 minutes on how the Dems did not get fasting. And then he literally showed all of the talking heads and all of the excuse making. And then Bill Maher, same exact thing. The fact is if you listen to them, they're all pointing fingers at some different aspect, which tells you they didn't get the message. They still think that it's all these other little things. But the bottom line is, if you listen to Bill Maher, you listen to Stewart, and they're saying the thing that really mattered is they went way too far. And that left way too many people saying no. You have presidential candidates that have left the Democratic Party, several of them. In 2016, there was 2 that ran, Yang and Tulsi. Both left because the party had gone so radical left. So they've been missing us. Now, does the right get it? I don't think so. Because the fact that you put Mitch McConnell in a position you just did, I live in South Dakota. I did not think Putin was the right guy for that position. And what did he do? He put Mitch McConnell in a position where there is, I guarantee you, every one of those states out there that went red is looking, going, that wasn't what we voted Trump in for. We don't want the turtle in there running anything. The man freezes up. He can't do it. But you put him in there. Why? That's establishment. Donald Trump's vote was an against the establishment vote. Bottom line. And no, so neither side really got it. Some people got it, not enough. But the left completely doesn't.
Yeah, I think that number one, Kamala Harris got more votes than Barack Obama back to back, right? So, I mean, to say that, this was such a terrible campaign is really, what are you comparing her against, right? I mean, you're just comparing her against Trump, who ran, his campaign, his constituency, stayed and grew, and that needs to be evaluated, for sure. But as far as has America listened to the people, I think yes. I think the message is very clear. It's what we do with it, right? Because what we do know is both of these candidates got less votes than Joe Biden, right? And so I think the message to the Democrats is there needs to be a focus on getting those numbers back for the Joe Biden numbers. What is missing? What is missing from? From the messaging, right? That galvanized the people that voted for Joe Biden, because Joe Biden, right, would have still beat Donald Trump as far as the popular vote is concerned, right? With the same numbers that he got last time. If Democrats had the same retention level, then this would have occurred, right? And I don't think that Kamala Harris is just so far left from Joe Biden, right? That the constituency went away from her. I think there's a deeper message for Democrats in that.
All right, I have to give a pause of moderation before anybody continues. So, who is this guy? Mr. Holstein, there you go. Or whatever your name is. I'm going to tell you, I'm not really anti-Semitic. I've never suffered at the hands of anybody who is Jewish, whatever they say. I've never had any desire to be anti-Semitic. I really don't care what manner of faith you practice. I don't even care what culture you want to live by. If you want to be Muslim, you want to be Irish, you want to be English, you want to be Russian, you want a culture like that, I don't care. There's all sorts of communities across the United States, and I think it's great. I wouldn't have pierogies, nor would I have had broccoli if it wasn't for a variety of cultures in this nation, including everything from the South. We're still getting used to all the taco joints down here, but I wouldn't have any of those. So I really appreciate everybody's cultures and contributions to America. There have been a lot of Jewish people who have been very prominent and successful and have helped America propel forward. So I'm going to give you your warning. I don't really tolerate a lot of the anti-Semitic. I don't, in this house, we don't really play around with any of those issues. If you want to talk about politics in regards to Israel, we'll hold a room on that. We've done it before, and it's been successful, and we moderated pretty well. I don't follow a ton of Israeli politics, which is why I don't comment on it, because again, it's not from that nation. If you ask about Ireland, I probably know it. England, probably know it. America, definitely. Canada, hate it. But if you're going to go through this pathway of saying that the country's been run by a bunch of Jews, I'm going to tell you it's being run by a bunch of people who just really don't understand the variety of cultures. And I really think this is probably not the room for you. But I'm going to allow you to stay. Just tone it down on the anti-Semitism, because I do have Jewish people in the audience and on stages. And I appreciate the contributions they bring to these rooms. I appreciate their input, their references. I have people from Israel who actually join these rooms and bring validity to the discussions and the topics at hand. So that's where my moderation ends. I'm being really nice and calm today because I'm in Texas and I'm sweating my ass off. But let's continue.
I was going to say, Brad, I don't know how you're doing it, because did you not see the picture I posted of the temperature that it is here? It is negative 15 degrees Celsius. It feels like negative 20 with wind chill. I had a facelift this morning as Jeff and I went out with the kids, and it was amazing. The sun is shining. Sharing this experience with my other northern brother. But you abandoned me. You didn't come over to the other north side, and you went south. So suffer in the heat, but peace be with you, and love you still, Brad.
I'll say something real quick about a topic.
So take your feeling, will advise you will. When you will, with whom you will, but there's a word to say about the elephant task.
As far as the topic,
delivered from the Nostradamus zone.
They don't get it. As a matter of fact, some of the people in here, especially
what do you want to tell the Democrats?
Right?
I'm going to help you here, guys. I'm running. So they got the whole fucking federal plaza shut down. You can't get to parking. Meanwhile, these motherfuckers, the free house I just screwed down.
They can't. We have heard everything. We have seen everything. We know all of the agendas. They were not hiding it. We understand exactly what they had planned for Republicans and conservatives, right? J6 was a perfect example of what you had planned for our free speech and our right to protest, right? We knew if we went out there and protest anything as part of either as a conservative and Republican, you was going to try to chase us. So we understand that. We understand
Exactly what your proposed plan was for immigration. We understand your lawfare and what you did with Donald Trump and trying to put everybody that surrounded Donald Trump in jail. And we rejected it as a country. We literally rejected all of your talking points, all of your xenophobic, homophobic, all of it. We rejected all of it. And yet, where you at? Still on here, running your goddamn mouth with the same stupid ass talking points that we already done told you. No, we don't care about you being whatever your sexual preference is. Get that shit to your bedroom. We don't want it in the schools, right? But you can't hear it. You're still out here trying to preach and trying to convince us, oh, why we need LGBTQ education in the school. We don't want it. No, are you get it yet? Are you Haitian, bro? No, I'm not Haitian, right? We right now, we hear people on CNN and he's going to do nothing. What part of we want that, don't you understand? We heard Donald Trump say mass deportation, and we voted for him. We want mass deportation. Get it into your... Bro, hold on a minute, bro, don't give up. Where I'm from doesn't matter. I'm from the United States. How about that? Right? Get it through your thick skull, right? Get it through your thick skull, because clearly you can't get it through your thick skull that we want the mass deportation of all of the illegal immigrants. We don't care about your, oh my God, it's going to bring the families. We don't care. What part of that don't you understand? We heard you the first time. We still voted for Trump, right? What do you think you didn't hear him? It was all through the airwaves.
I'm only that a border patrol answers this question. If people are really worried about being left out with their families, we can send them with the rest. Obviously, that is not a popular perspective. That's what Tom is.
Exactly. We don't give a shit. We don't give a shit. Right now,
you
crying about.
You don't give a shit. I living on the border actually do give a shit because of how it impacts my life. Big difference.
This is one of the big misunderstandings that a lot of people have.
And do you believe that Haitians are detrimental to
Do I believe that Haitians are a detriment to American culture? No. But I tell you what I do believe. What I do believe is that if you're here illegally, you need to take your ass back home. That's what I do believe. If you're a Haitian and you want to be part of American culture, how about you file for a green card and you come over here the right way, right? How about if you're seeking asylum, how about you go to a port of entry and seek asylum that way? How about when you go to court and they tell you that your asylum application was denied, you take your ass back to your fucking country? How about that?
Haitians are here?
Just be careful with the stinger off.
Yeah, do you believe that temporary
okay, this is Jefferson Park News. This is the homeless crisis.
No,
this is King Thaddeus. It hasn't been less than 10 years. I don't even know if you
executive project.
So, do you believe that Haitians with temporary protective status is illegals that should go to the car?
No, the problem with TPS is it's so done by the executive. One executive can extend TPS, the very next executive can take TPS away. So,
my friend,
He just answered your question. I said that all the people who are here illegally, the keyword illegally, they still scroll. Apparently somebody told them to be here, right? They're here legally. If they're here illegally, or my one caveat is, you know that all those apps that Joe Biden used to circumvent the actual laws. But when Trump comes and he does his executive orders, goodbye, just like Marshall said. The law is the law. You're either here legally or you're here illegally. If the law changes and it makes you illegal, hey, there's nothing wrong with Haiti. Go back over there and fight barbecue for your country. Don't run over here. Run your ass right back to fucking Haiti and go fight barbecue. Take your country from barbecue. Don't come over here and cry like a freaking bitch.
Where are you from? I don't think they were so.
Not Haiti. Not Haiti.
Pretty much where you're
Oh,
at.
no, Purnell. Ding, 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 ding. I'm American. Just because I got an accent doesn't make me American. I got an American birth certificate. How about that? I'm a military birth abroad. I already told y'all that already. Every time I come on here, somebody gotta ask, where are you from? I'm from the United States. My father was because my dad is in the military. And so I'm a military birth abroad. My dad was in the military. So that means I have two birth certificates. An American birth certificate and the country where my dad was stationed at, where I was born, where he was stationed. I got birth certificate in that country too. But I'm American. Where was he born though? That's the first thing, bro. So I'm gonna stop it here. Hold on. I don't know if you know who I am, but I'm gonna read up for a second. So, the idea that the vast array of this country includes the territories, those of you that are aware of, like Sequoia, some of these are, areas outside that the U.S. actually controls, have access. It's not different from, say, New York. That's the difference from Texas. And I can tell you, Texas.
Hey, we need to know what you're going while we
heard KKP. So, I mean, we have all sorts of different accents, and we have, again, communities who raise their kids in that very community, going to schools run by that community.
We're here in downtown Kansas City. We're looking at the Valley
multiple
Theater.
languages, different customs than, say, I don't know, somebody who's white in New York, or who's Asian in California, or who's Hispanic in Texas, or who's white or black in Montana. You know, you have a whole host of different things that go on in this country. Drilling in on somebody's ethnicity, culture, or trying to, analyze them because they have an accent does not mean that. Now, he's American. I've known the man for a long time. He's American. He's American as fucking apple pie and Disney and theme parks and roller coasters and people doing dumb shit on this continent. Okay? Case closed.
Are we not allowed to ask people where their parents are from and their
Shadon.
But how does that reference to the original point that he made?
Well, I always find it fascinating when people who speak more than one language, which I'm making an assumption that Purnell speaks more than one language, has the rhetoric that he has. Now, it's relevant in asking where your parents are from or what your lineage is, because we know that a lot of times, I don't need to go into details, but you guys know what I'm saying. So you only speak. Hold on, wait, hold on.
Wait a minute.
No, Purnell, you only speak.
Always remember that.
Where are your parents from?
It's overriding point of people in the country, controversial law, not given.
Am I allowed to ask another melanated brother where his peoples are from? Lineage. It puts things into perspective.
It just seems like he doesn't want to answer you, hon. He's on mute. There's no response. His father's remote. It looks like he's unable to speak.
Oh, so you're from my neck of the woods. So I'm in Baltimore too.
Everybody has a
Are you first generation? You're first generation.
He said his father was American and served.
Baltimore. I don't know anybody from Baltimore who talks like that, who doesn't have a family from a different.
Okay, again, I'm interrupting you, and this is going to be the final warning. Because, like, my patience, though I'm calm today and not in Viking mode, I really don't give a fuck where his lineage from. You want mine? My grandparents sailed over here on boats from Ireland. Both sets. That's how it was conceived. And my parents were born here, and then I was born here. And every generation that has touched American soil has served in the military. To the great extent. So, there you go. If that satisfies your curiosity, great. If it doesn't, I don't care.
But we're moving on from this. I don't care if he's melanated. I don't care if he's polka dot. I don't care if he's yellow with purple dots on his face. It does not matter to me. I only wanted to get on the point. So I'm going to go to Dittmann, who's no longer here. And he was
about before you get the TPS to you, or to anybody really in the room.
Okay, hold on. I was speaking, so you got to chill with that whole thing. So again, I don't care what pronounced from. I know he's American. We're going to leave it at that. No need to go further. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, all I wanted to ask was about the Ukrainians and their TPS being removed. Should they be a part of the mass deportation as well?
TPS is removed, then if TPS is removed, then they'll get deported. That's just the answer to it.
No. Do you agree with them being deported? I know that's what's going to happen. My question is that something that you guys agree with on the stage?
Actually, I do. It's all
Ukrainians being mass deported.
I agree with this. Right now, Zelensky is doing forced conscription. They're basically grabbing 65-year-olds off of the street and throwing them in there, even if they're disabled. So your country's at war, and I get it. People flee war zones, and I understand it. But what I found fascinating in the day of social media, and a lot of the Ukrainian soldiers on the front were kind of pissed off on this, is that they saw not just like a few Ukrainian people, but they saw hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian or former Ukrainian citizens existing in Europe, in the United States, Canada, or wherever the hell they went to, posting on TikTok how great their life was. Meanwhile, these bastards who are, in essence, fighting for their home, are shivering and dying and bleeding out on a battlefield to protect their nation. And they're looking at the people fleeing, and this isn't a small number, it's not insignificant, it's a lot. And they were sitting there getting pissed off. They even started posting their own versions of saying, like, you're cowards, calling them out. And I do find this fascinating that we're offering TPS to Ukrainians, when in fact we're supplying you with arms, and we expect your nation to put on a wartime footing. We expect your nation to go through and utilize those arms. I agree. There's a lot of concerns I have about the way arms are delivered, the support, and how this war has been conducted. Huge issues in regards to that. But the idea that you would flee and come here and then start to propagate or talk about how much you love Ukraine and how the U.S. needs to be, meanwhile you're hiding here instead of actually standing on the front line, kidding up, this is one of the things I view as wrong with society. Like, if you want us to do that, then you need to go stand there and show us that you're in solidarity with Ukraine. Not sit here and hide in Texas and say, Viva la Ukraine, and scream how the U.S. needs to carry on. I have issues with Ukrainian citizens doing that. And we know a lot of them on the app. And I just find it ironic that they wouldn't do it. If it's my nation and one of you in America was being attacked by another nation, you can bet your ass I would be one of the first ones on that hill, on that field, taking that front line. I would not run. I would go willingly and excitedly, and I would be like, oh, you want to come fuck with my Americans? We now have a major issue, and we're going to find out who's bigger and better.
We shouldn't be involved in the first place. There's no logical reason at all for us to be involved. America first, America home.
What about Israel?
Now, real quick, I was about to ask that. So, shouldn't that same disposition be felt for the war with Israel and
Absolutely.
I mean, I understand that Israel supposedly is supposed to be a ally of America, but what the hell does that mean?
Israel is an ally. We're able to store stocks and munitions there, land our planes there. Part of the prominence of a lot is geographical continuity and geographical choke points. Sitting in the Levant is a geographical choke point.
Yeah, well, the Jews have been worth the squeeze.
But hold on, wouldn't Ukraine serve?
I mean, like, we're not.
But that war.
Israel isn't just a nation of Jews. It's a nation of Jews, Muslims, Christians, and like several other religions.
Ukraine doesn't, because you can do that in Poland.
Yeah, bro, what's your take?
Yeah, but that war.
Hold on, I have the same smoke for Israeli citizens that come over or flee because their country's in a conflict. Yeah, I'd have the same smoke for them. Like, no, I'm not going to offer your TPS status. I'm not going to give. You need to go fight and handle that war. I am not here to, I need to kind of go through. You have to fight a battle.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, the Ukraine and Israel, they parallel. There's two nations that without funding every year from the United States wouldn't even exist. The United States keeps these governments going for years. They're like,
funding from American foreign aid is literally 1% of federal government spending.
It should be
it's not enough to bitch about.
It should be zero.
Well, then you're denying the necessity of the American empire to hand out gifts and make sure our allies are rewarded. And part of the imperial sphere means you do shit like that. You don't necessarily have to like it, but the argument that you would balance the back of the budget or you would significantly cut down on expenditures if you got rid of foreign aid is just farcical. Again, we spend about $5 trillion every year. It's literally 1% of $5 trillion.
If these countries cannot take care of themselves or defend themselves, they shouldn't exist.
Hold on a moment there, because then you're getting into a rewrite of history. So, the United States, yes, Truman was the first to recognize Israel as a sovereign state 11 minutes after its creation, etc. You can go down that rabbit hole. And he did that. However, when Israel was on a precarious slope, it wasn't the U.S. or England or any other nation that really came to bail them out. It was Czechoslovakia. They were the ones that actually came and helped Israel. So we didn't really start building up financial relations or actual trade relations really until about Marshall? The late 50s, early 60s?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, maybe the mid-60s even. So we didn't really have an economic tie to it. We basically said, here you go, we recognize you, now you're on your own. And we left it. And again, like I'm saying, Czechoslovakia was the only nation to actually submit arms. So knowing that history and knowing that Israel was attacked, 11 minutes after it was created, without any support, was kind of one of the things that wanted to be proved. And the U.S. took a policy of, well, you got to defend your nation. We created it for you. Now you got to go out there and fight for it. And they did. They won. It's a short, abbreviated history, but in essence, they won.
It's like this, right? So you're in favor of Trump, right? Doing the tariffs that he was doing back in 2019, 2018, right? But specifically in 2019. What if he was, which I doubt he would ever do it, but let's say if he was to do that with Israel, I mean, shouldn't we as a nation become more sovereign from a lot of these different people?
No, because they provide us with geographical choke points in the world with which to move our fucking military. Like, I don't understand why people don't grasp this piece of imperial maintenance. You cannot move to strategically important geographical places in short amounts of time. You need to already be there, or else you're not going to be able to project the power. From San Diego to Seoul, South Korea, that's 6,000 miles. From San Diego to Diego Garcia, which is through the Malacca Straits, and into the Indian Ocean to Diego Garcia, an American naval base, is 11,500 miles. You can't project force in the way the United States needs to keep the shipping lanes open and free unless you have places to store your weaponry and your long-range bombers and things like other weapons, right? Javelins get stored in Israel, right? For a long time, Bagram operated as a way for U-2 flights, spy plane flights, to go over the western Gobi Desert where the Chinese Communist Party keeps most of its nuclear capabilities and nuclear research, right? You cannot just decide you want to show up at these places and expect them to be in favor of you. You need to be at strategically important geographical choke points in the world in order to do that. And one of those choke points is Israel. It just is. You don't have to like Israel. You don't even have to think they deserve to be a nation. But what they provide for us is ability for force projection, storage of munitions and other assets, as well as being able to launch people out. One of the things, for example, in the Roman Punic Wars, which was so great, the Romans were able to sacrifice 650,000 people that were not Romans, right? So to a certain degree, these alliances, aside from providing us geostrategic projection points, they allow other people to die in the conflict before we die in the conflict. And that is just one of those things. That is just one of those things that happens. That is just one of those things that happens as being part of the American empire. If you would like to give that spot up and give it to either China or Russia, I'm sure you will find many people don't agree with you.
China and Russia don't want it. They have no imperialistic goals except in Africa.
Or shit, they don't.
Belt and Road.
The way they tried to resecure the South China Sea, which holds 85 to 95% of world trade at any fucking one given time. No, they absolutely want to project power. They took the Spratlys and the Parcels in 14, which provides 250 billion barrels of oil and 2.5 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. They then used a mixture of land and sea-based missiles to try and force the American 7th Fleet out of one of the most strategically important trade avenues in the world.
You're
Chinese have been seeking to do that for 25 years.
You're projecting what we do onto these people as an excuse.
No, I am quoting you exactly what the Chinese Communist Party did. They took the Spratlys and they took the Parcels in 2014. They constructed artificial islands on them, and then around Hainan and other places, they put land and sea-based missiles, which can, in a moment, act as something called area access, area denial, meaning they can shut out the United States 7th Fleet, our most technologically advanced fleet, and tell Americans to go fuck themselves.
As they do. That's not in our backyard.
What amounts to one of the two most important economic routes in the world.
That's their region. That's not in our backyard. We shouldn't be over there anyway. We have our own homeland.
Do you really trust the Chinese Communist Party to govern fairly?
I don't trust somebody like you.
Do you really trust the Chinese Communist Party to make decisions
that
are in the best interest of the United States of America?
We can't afford it.
No,
we cannot afford it.
We can afford the naval fleet. The vast majority of the money we spend is in mandatory spending in three categories:
1,100
security, disability insurance, and Medicare. The rest of the stuff we spend is foreign domestic spending. In fact, the actual defense spending in the United States is third, and it is mandatory spending, interest on the debt, and then the military.
Listen,
and I'm sorry, we have been
we can't afford
the guarantor of world trade since the end of World War II.
It's fiscally irresponsible with your
empire means.
It's fiscally irresponsible, and because of the ass kicking we took by the Houthis, your suggestion of Israel being a strategic location, we should get a refund for that too. We couldn't even stop them from shutting down the shipping lanes. Your proposal is not.
Expected Joe Biden to respond in a cognizant and coherent fashion, even though he spent 4 years showing us he couldn't fucking do that. Of course, we're not going to get anything good out of the Joe Biden foreign policy administration. It's not going to fucking happen.
Listen, I don't even believe Biden authorized use of long-range missiles. I didn't see him say that. I didn't see him do a speech. He didn't do a news conference.
Speeches. They write memorandums and then get it out. That's not something they broadcast to the public. It's not something you need to broadcast to the public, to be frank.
Yeah, I don't believe he pulled out of the race on himself. I think somebody else wrote that on his Twitter. I mean, that's not even an official announcement on Twitter. Come on. So I think that this stuff is all being ran by the MIC and those who make money off of selling weapons to places that we don't need them for wars that we will never win, that we were never intended to win. Don't get me wrong. If it's a racket, it's a racket. But at least let it benefit the Americans. When gas was cheap, if you guys want to go be
and part of that shit benefiting the Americans is the Americans not giving up the second most lucrative trade corridor
Lucrative
for a country that our defense establishment references not the military contractors, but the actual defense establishment.
Bro, it's not lucrative for the people.
The nearest peer competitor, meaning the power that is competing the most with the United States is China in that area. Again,
listen, none of your
it's
not lucrative for the American people.
Trade in the world.
You listen, you're not even listening. It's not lucrative for the American people. It's only lucrative for a small group of people, and you're just defending them like some kind of lobbyist. Those people are not the American people. It's not lucrative for us. It does jack shit for us over here.
I just don't believe in this fucking happy horseshit of giving up, deciding America's not worth it, and becoming insular like we were in the 19-teens and early 1920s.
Money you're giving to these different
it didn't
wars,
fucking work then, and it's
and
not
they're
going to
not
work
fixing
now.
infrastructure over here.
$300 billion to Ukraine for a war against Russia that has accomplished nothing except wiping out 5 generations of
1% of overall federal
want to hear that.
Bitch and moan about something.
The Pentagon can't balance a budget. You don't know if that's true.
More of
You don't know if that. You don't even know if that number is true. The Pentagon failed their budget. They've never been audited. They can't pass an audit. So you don't even know if it's 1%. So don't even say that.
Of course you know it's 1% because that's what the House of Representatives and the Senate actually give to the American public every year. If you would like to look, I would suggest you check out the appropriations for the year 2023.
Bro, it's a joke. We have not passed an audit. We don't know where the money goes. That's nonsense.
No, we haven't passed a second audit. Jim Mattis found an audit that went back about 40 years. The issue being there was a lot of money lost. Now, that does not mean Congress's numbers of allocation are not true. Congress, the House of Representatives, the entity that controls the purse, allocates the funding through the Appropriations Committee.
Marshall, you don't know what you're talking about, apparently, or you're just out of date.
I know exactly what I'm talking about. I just don't find this idea of giving up the American place in the world as anything remotely interesting or even what we should be doing. It is ignoring our historic place in the world.
It's in our own continent. We have our own borders. We have our own economies. We cannot nation build and be the world police forever. It's not working. We can't afford it. And people like you who think we can, we're going through critical inflation right now.
Of course we can afford it.
Hey, look, real quick too on the we can't be the world's police forever. Like when people say that, especially what Marshall was just saying, it just kind of makes sense. It's not even just about just strictly the geographical advantages that we have by being in all these other nations. Like when I served in the U.S. Navy and Special Forces, and we was in Southeast Asia and Singapore and Indonesia and Malaysia and all that, you get a chance to kind of understand that if you're not there, then the pirates are going to make sure all your resources that you're paying for never make it to you either. You know what I'm saying? So it's that simple. Like you have to have, especially in the water, like the land is one thing, but it's the same thing. The land, the ocean, is all the same. You got to be the world's police everywhere because if you're not, your resources that you're paying all over the world, it's global. It's a global industry right now. Your stuff coming from everywhere. So stuff is coming from everywhere. In order for it to get to where you're at after you paid your money, you got to have some type of policing of the supply chain because pirates do exist. All that shit exists. But yeah,
I think that's very anti-MAGA, Marcus. I think MAGA's about America first. I think internationally, it's about it really is about nationalism. It really is about ending globalism. I think the type of protections that you're talking about are part of the globalist agenda. For nation states to not focus on themselves, but to try to globify this planet, make trade, international trade be the cornerstone. Make American supply chain dependent internationally. I think this is very counter to what Trump wants for America, to what MAGA wants for America. I mean, Brad, how do you see it?
Listen, I'm America first. So what we just showed you in the election that just passed
is that we're not globalists. These countries in NATO, especially, we are populist nationalists. We do not want to be a part of one central government that is all over the place at once, and we're just adhering to the World Economic Forum and whatever they say.
You don't get it, dude. The government was the United States of America and our imperial influence. That's the thing you're running away from.
No, I'm addressing that directly.
You are running away from the ability for the United States to be the most important power in the world by abdicating our responsibilities halfway across the world to other people who will never make decisions based on our interests. If you think abandoning the South China Sea and 85% of world trade at any one given time is going to be profitable for America, then I got a fucking bridge to sell you out to nowhere.
It's not profitable for the people now.
But hold on.
So your bridge means nothing.
Yeah, well, Marsha, isn't that that type of trade, that type of presence, at the expense of Americans being able to produce locally and having to consume from Asia, from Southeast Asia?
South China Sea guarantees that we get cheaper freaking goods. Because
Yeah,
it means that you're not going to have a nascent Chinese Navy and Coast Guard trying to tax us for transversing the South China Sea. Which, if you don't think China would want to tax us if they had enough power, then again, I have a bridge to sell you in the middle of nowhere.
Maybe we don't need to buy everything from China. Maybe we can produce our own.
I mean,
we don't got to worry about the South China Sea if we don't import everything from fucking China.
But this is the reason why I brought out come on, man. And this is the reason why I brought that out, man. Like, come on. Like, I mean, do you want this country to be autonomous all the way, or do you just want to be autonomous just for certain people, for certain
big corporations?
Right.
It's not simply about big corporations. It's about the price of
because real quick, I just want to say this, Marshall. Can I just say this real quick? Yeah. Can I just say this? Yeah, let me just say this because I just want to show you what I'm speaking about. Because like, you believe that the Democratic Party is for the globalists, right? That's what you believe.
I believe that.
If you believe that, okay. So if you believe right, so if we believe that, right? They want it. They want China. They want Russia. They want all these different countries to be up in America's business, right? And sell them all kinds of goods, shipping everything from China to America. Whereas, we as a country, right, we want to be autonomous. We want to be able to make our own stuff so that people can have jobs, people can be happy, people can do, everything can be good, right? It can be a steady flow, right? So that's why, like, being this global police force, which is going to cost money, and allowing certain nations like Israel to be a part of our situation, it's not good. It's not beneficial for the long term.
It's beneficial for the Americans to protect Israel. They're the only democratic country in the Mideast at that place.
Are they democratic? Because I know Netanyahu should be in jail right now. I don't think they're really even democratic anymore. Neither is Ukraine.
Of course they're democratic.
They don't even have elections in the Ukraine.
You are making an assumption about how their parliament works, which you don't know.
I do know how their parliament works. And I know that also in the Ukraine, there's no elections. So we're over there helping fascists who are not leaving power when they are voted out by their people because they won't even take a vote. So you're advocating for keeping them funded so that we can police different trade routes so we can get products from people.
I advocate the United States Navy being the main navy that patrols the world's throughways and tradeways, because we will make sure that the United States is put first in her national interest. No other country on the planet will do that.
Is the United States first now, Marshall?
Of course, the United States is first now. We're obviously one of the two most influential nations in the world.
Nonsense. We're not first. We're basically, though, we got to get our antibiotics.
Are you kidding? You're going to look at the American military and tell me we don't have an unfathomable amount of power that our nearest peer competitor, China, without ketchup couldn't gain. Are you serious?
Absolutely. For one thing,
we can't meet recruiting goals. For 2, our best soldiers left the military over the unconstitutional vax mandate. Our ranks right now are full of Marxists.
That wasn't unconstitutional.
We don't even have a military right now. We don't even have a military right now, Mark. So you.
Dr. Rico, when was the last time China fielded their military?
I don't think they've ever fielded it.
They've never fielded it.
How do you know what China's military is hitting for?
I haven't said anything about China's military.
The comparison was America to the nearest peer, and y'all were speaking on economic parameters.
You seem like
versus the defense estimate, which I was referring to. Exactly.
Okay, well, like at the same time, for all the problems that America's military has, you've yet to offer an alternative. Like, who can beat the American Army? You're just complaining, like, no, Dr. Rico, let's level with each other here. You just have some issues with, like, some administrative and managerial things, right?
No,
operationally.
No, I haven't.
Fair enough, but like, yeah, okay, that's fine. That's a completely different conversation.
No, same conversation.
Our money is disappearing. Going to
you just suggested
our money
that
is
we
not
lack
disappearing
military
in that fashion. We spend
readiness.
most of the money on ourselves.
We cannot pass an audit.
So what do you mean it's not disappearing? That's what that means.
The amount of money the Congress allocates every year for the budget, we spend most of it on ourselves. Secondly, on the interest on the debt that we have accrued. If you have not read a federal budget after being suggested to go take a look at the Appropriations Committee, I would suggest that is on you, sir.
I suggest you need to reread the fact that we cannot pass an audit and stop throwing out other nonsense to try to muddy the waters. It's not going to work right now.
It's not about that. The Pentagon is not the appropriator of funds. The appropriator of funds in our system is the House of Representatives with the Senate's assent.
We have.
So you can't tell me, you can't argue with me that the Pentagon is going to create money, because that's not how that works.
No, we borrow money from the Fed. We're at $35 trillion in debt.
Okay, Marshall, I got a question for you. Because here's something I've learned, I've heard of. I was wanting to get your take, see what you know about it. From something I've recently heard, that basically that sometimes when something is classified as colloquially classified as like unaccounted for, it really is not that it's unaccounted for. Is that like, let's say it's like for like something that is not classified. So basically, it's not that they don't know where it's at. It's like, no, we don't have the classification to say where it's at or to even know where it's at.
There is a lot of time that what's known as the black budget, the classified portion, which people because military stuff sits on the Senate side, it's what people on the Senate Intel, Foreign Services Committee, and Armed Services Committee deal with. Those folks all have more than likely top secret SCI clearance in order to be on those committees in the first place. But yes, you are loosely right about that, Detrill.
Yeah, I'm saying because I recently learned that it's like, I think that's what people are getting confused when they say, oh yeah, it was all this money that we can't account for. Well, a lot of times not that we can't account for. They're like, yeah, like it's secretive. And I don't know if that's something that journalists are saying, like instead of being more accurate and say, oh, well, it's classified, which will actually explain it better. Instead they say, oh, well, we don't know where it went. Well, sorry, the journalists are saying we don't know where it went.
No, Congress said that. Congress.
Congress probably don't even know.
Well, hold on.
I don't know.
Insofar as it's TSSCI, sensitive compartmented information, anyone that reveals what's called means and methods loses their clearance and gets jailed. So they're going to say they don't know where it's at.
Oh, they can't even say
similar to, that's top secret. Yeah, so that's what it's a classification level. It's the highest classification level.
Yeah, and it controls something known as the black budget.
Yeah, so they can plead ignorance. They're supposed to. You're actually trained to do that. So yeah, just don't worry about it.
It's all need to know. You don't need to know.
You don't tell me what I need to know. I pay taxes. You don't need to know.
Yeah, but you don't need to know
No,
anything that's happening at
I need to know.
STS level.
I need to know.
No.
Yes, I do.
So you want to know?
You're never going to get all the top.
You don't have the clearance. That's who
I don't give a damn about clearance. If you guys can't pass a budget and explain where the money goes, then it's theft. And you guys sound like
They have explained where the money goes simply because you have never read it.
You guys stop over speaking each other. It's getting really fucking irritating.
But Doctor, how do you wait? Do you believe there should be any secrets from the government in terms of like? Do you believe there should be any such thing as like classified information in the government in any way, shape, or fashion for any reason?
I believe there should be a level of transparency. I think there should be a level of transparency as well.
Who were you asking?
Around what?
Who were you asking?
I was asking Dr. Rico that question.
I do believe that there's a very small line of things that could probably be black budget. The rest, operating expenses, funding for all the nonsense junk that we're doing with other countries. Don't get me wrong, I understand why we need to inject the American dollar all over the world, but be transparent with the people about it. Right now, our economy is suffering, and they keep bringing up this national debt that is unbelievable. We cannot afford to have thousands of military bases all over the world that cost millions of dollars per day a piece, but yet we have no money for Social Security, and things are falling apart over here, and we magically have $300 billion for Ukraine.
It doesn't make sense.
Who said we couldn't afford that?
Congress is not making it solvent. It's not that you can't do it, it's that Congress is not doing it. Congress is not raising the retirement age. They are not making sure there's more money in the trust fund. And again, the descending order in which we spend our money are mandatory spending, Social Security, disability insurance, Medicare, and then interest on our debt, and then the military, and then everything else. It's not that you can't maintain the military, it's that you have to find a way to cut down on the ballooning $20 trillion in liability over the next 40 years, right? And those come from social programs.
So we can afford.
Hey, Dr. Rico, let me elucidate something for you. You have a very simplistic view of this, and that's completely fine.
I'm simplifying.
Just so you know, when cuts do happen, not if, but when they do happen, if you're looking at the military or the armed forces, the first thing that's going to go are the benefits, right? So, in other words, the incentives for people to even join. That flows to two issues that you've raised in this room. One, our lack of recruitment numbers. How are we going to hit recruitment numbers when we have less to offer for, your life? And two, social services like childcare, rent. It's an allowance, but an allowance for people to pay their rent in addition to their salaries because they're not really getting paid much. This is all public. You can look it up.
That would be an issue if we have $300 billion to send to the Ukraine. The soldiers, that should be nothing. Nothing. See, one thing about a scammer or a con artist, they never want your left hand to know what the right hand is doing. You and Marshall seem to try to do this misdirection thing and think you can just out-talk people. And if you make something so confusing that an idiot is just going to be like, oh, maybe he's right because it sounds so complex, like E equals MC squared.
It's not confusing.
First of all, E equals MC squared is a linear equation. It's only like 3 variables. It ain't even that hard, right?
It's not.
Let's not be stupid here. I'm not, Dr. Rico, I'm not trying to I think you got me confused here. I don't know if he's still in the room. I'm not trying to condescend that gentleman. I was simply explaining to him things that he had a priori or preconceived viewpoints on that were not correct.
That's all. I'm not. I just kept it real with him.
Listen, and for me, when it comes to like a lot of times people say, "How come we can't do one thing? How come we can't do the other thing?" And a lot of times, like Marshall pretty much said it relatively right. You know, I mean, here and again, like the government isn't making it so. Like it's not a thing that the president can do unilaterally. No, like you have to get Congress on board to do it. And in fact, we have a lot of special interest groups. We have a lot of people with different ideas. So like, here's the thing. Like, here's a good example. Like people always say, "Hey, why don't we build more housing?" Well, part of the reason why we can't build more housing is part, not the main reason, is the Fair Cloth Act. The Fair Cloth Act limits the amount of housing that the government itself can actually produce, right? And that was, I forgot what president that was, but either way, like, so a lot of people don't even know that even exists. They just wonder why, hey, we can spend all this money on Ukraine, we can spend on Israel.
Yeah, but that's a bad example.
Because the government prevented itself from being able to do so. So like, instead of like digging into the issue to figure out why, they just think of it that simply, but it's not that simple.
Here's something that we need to do, and so this is friendly advice to everybody, right? Republicans are known for doing this, same with Democrats when it comes to our political leader, right? If you say we're going to play the whataboutism, if you point something out and God forbid you say anything negative about what I believe in, you're full of shit. Marshall, at the end of the day, the government isn't perfect. We have bad apples, and we have some pretty scandalous shit that happens, particularly when it comes to money. We can at least acknowledge that we need to not look at everything and say, well, there's a justification for everything. Go ahead, little sheep. Look the other way. Don't worry. Daddy's going to take care of you. That is all that Doctor is trying to say. Now, Slat is somebody who I love and adore, extremely kind, very well-rounded individual. So he wasn't being difficult. I think he was just trying to explain to you that the government isn't out to kill you. We have Trump coming in. Take a deep breath. There are some explanations to things that maybe we civilians or retired government military employees are not maybe aware of. So I just want to meet in the middle, guys. Okay, so Marshall, government isn't perfect. I know you are the best expert. You are so smart, almost to the point to where it's deafening. But it's fair for people to be concerned and to question. Doctor, people aren't attacking you. There's a lot of individuals who believe in what our government and our military does, and it's hard sometimes to just say, hey, everyone's bad. The big brother's looking out to get us. So I hope we can draw a mutual ground here. Does that make sense, everyone?
Listen, I don't sell a tag, and I think you make a very good point. And, like I said, sometimes when people are talking, if other people don't feel they have enough information to rebuttal, they won't say anything, and then that just gets left up there. It's healthy to be able to counter these people with facts and information, and it's also healthy if you can ask a question that they can admit that they can't answer. Sometimes it's okay for them to say, I don't know, instead of just making up something or projecting it, and it's nonsense. And also one more thing, maybe the government's not trying to kill everybody, but our government's definitely trying to kill some of us because those vax mandates killed a whole lot of Democrats, and there's a lot of them missing from the voter rolls this year.
Well, I will say, and it's important, this is the psychologist in me coming out, you've got to understand that there are people like Marshall who spent his entire life in political science that loves people and his constituents so much that sometimes he believes everybody's him. I've never met a bigger golden retriever with a wolf mentality for his constituents. Do you know what I mean? So just give him the benefit of the doubt of that perspective. Now, when it comes to the COVID vaccines, I agree. I'm a pureblood. Never got the jab, never will.
Same here. They got tested.
And you know what? There will be doctors that come in here. There will be people that come in here, and this is the beauty of being in a democracy. There will be people who say, I have been double vaxxed, booster, the whole 9 yards. I was protecting people. You guys are conspiracy theorists, and that's okay. We can agree to disagree, and we just move it on from there. in biohacking science or molecular or any of that. I study more so the human behavior. So fine, if that's what you say, congratulations. But I still have the free will to tell you to shove it up your asshole, and until there's enough research that's done and people aren't dropping dead from blood clots, I ain't gonna take it. And thankfully we're in America where we can do that. Now, was it constitutional at the time for what they did to us? Yes, because it was an emergency act. And at that point, it gave the federal government complete control to dictate if you could or could not keep your job, because they actually thought the virus was going to come and wipe out a third of America. That was whether they believed it or not, I don't know. I'm not them.
Well,
right?
no, that was actually unconstitutional because it was overturned as soon as it went to court, and everybody's getting back pay for the pain and suffering and for the time off of work.
Now that's on the state. The federal stopped, to my understanding, love. The federal stopped, but some states did not listen to the lifting, and it's the states that's paying the back. But I could be wrong.
No. Joe Biden's vax mandate was illegal. Okay. It was unconstitutional, and that's why it was overturned as soon as not even a year and a half, not even a year later. That whole thing was unconstitutional. It was illegal. You would never have to do that. And those of us who were smart enough to understand, we would rather quit our job because we understood the Constitution stands for us. But if you didn't understand the Constitution stood for you, then you just went along with it. So because you didn't feel like you had any protection. But there was protection there, and now people are reaping the benefits of it 2 years later.
That's fair. I'm grounded on that. But Marshall, are you there, hon?
How do y'all feel about the fact that JFK Jr. and what's another name, that Hollywood doctor is about to be the head of our health administration?
You mean Martin?
Excuse me. Rydell asked if Marshall was there. Marshall, are you there?
I don't think he is. That's okay, hon.
Okay.
Thank you, KK. Thank you. So you're talking about Dr. Oz?
RFK and Dr. Oz.
Okay, so RFK was given a position, but I am new to it. Wait a minute. Dr. Oz got a cabinet position, or did he get a advisory position?
I got to brush up on that, but I believe he was given like a position with up there with
So Kennedy Jr. got a cabinet position, but if Dr. Oz got anything, I promise you it's an advisory position, and he might be utilized in terms of marketing to get information out to the people who follow him. That's actually quite strategic given the audience and influence that he holds. So if we've got our CDC directors, we've got our general surgeon, and we've got RFK putting out information, Dr. Oz is going to be a great outsuit, right? And an advisor to get that to the public.
Yeah, Oz was nominated to oversee Medicare. I don't know if that's exactly cabinet.
Wait, you're saying Oz is going to oversee Medicare?
You're going to lead it is the language I was saying. It's lead the Center for Medicare.
Yeah, Dr. Oz and Dr. Medman, they're both going to be overseeing Medicare and I believe Medicaid.
Are we talking about the business aspect of it? So versus let's run a business, right? So from a business standpoint, I have an issue with that. I'm trying to understand the logic. I think that's bullshit. Dr. Oz having any sort of control is a bit damning to me, truth be told. Okay.
I mean, listen, better him than Bill Gates.
I know, but I don't like it. I don't like it.
I don't know. We liked Oz when he was going to get betterment, but
Dr. Oz, he has connections with people that you disagree with. He has connections in the medical industry. You think he's not going to give his fellow fat cats different types of benefits and whatnot? You don't think he's going to overlook certain charges and stuff like that normally wouldn't be allowed by someone who actually knows what they're doing? I mean, come on. This is corruption.
The backs on people, and I don't trust anybody that took the back.
Oh, but you tried Dr. Oz.
I think there were plenty of people's doctors who told them that was the effective way to go before the doctors told them that was not the effective way to go. I had a doctor, I had a primary care physician because I had an autoimmune disease in high school. Hey, take the first two. Hey, by the way, don't fucking take that third one. Trials on it have been pretty sketchy, right? So, like, depending, all of those decisions need to be made between you and your doctor.
Marshall, they was giving out those injections and burned down parking lots of fast food restaurants. You would just pull into it and you stick your arm out of a window and somebody in a mask with scrubs on with no credentials was injecting you. I don't want to hear your nonsense about your doctors.
Not fucking nonsense, dude. It's actually how it worked.
There was no doctor on the side.
My mental health, which you do not have, told me it would be a good idea to take the first two. Then subsequently told me, from what he was finding out from his colleagues about the third one, that it was not a safe thing to take. My point is not whether you like my doctor or whether you dislike my doctor. My point is that people make their decisions with their doctors as health decisions should be made.
Well, you have a history of bad decisions, it seems, and no wonder that's applying across this board.
It doesn't have anything to do with bad fucking decision making. It has to do with listening to your doctor. And if you don't like listening to the dude that went to medical school that you pay a whole bunch of money to tell you about your health, that's your business, not mine.
Well, he doesn't want you to listen to you want to listen to herbologists and people who put herbs and spices in your body. You want to listen to, like that.
Yes, because I'm the new age people who have nothing to do with
No, I would just prefer you don't take medical advice from felons. Those pharmaceutical companies are all felons. Billions of dollars.
No, they're not. Believe they are felons.
Pfizer's the felon. Trump's not a felon. What does that matter? Trump is not. Why is it only black people that think Trump's a felon? Y'all don't read the same news everybody else about. What is the barrier with information? No one else thinks that idiotic nonsense. Trump is not a felon. Why is it only certain people talking about? I'm talking about you. Why did you say something so idiotic? And you can literally look up on your phone and verify it's not true.
Listen, 10% of America, give or take, has a felony of some sort. So I love y'all. I'm playing devil's advocate here. It's okay. I get it, guys. I get it. Let's deviate from this. Marshall, I think you missed me kind of speaking in regards to just moving forward.
Honey, dude, totally. I'm sorry about that.
You're okay, honey. You know that I love you to death, and half
love
the
you
shit
too.
you do or say drives me crazy, but it's you. I'm glad you're not dead. The most important thing to me is there's no blood clots, your heart is still beating, and you're healthy as a horse. So God is good when it comes to that. Let's not talk about people's personal health. COVID was absolutely bullshit. And for those of us who didn't fall for it, great. For those who took it and have no harm, glory to God. Those who actually were harmed by the vaccine, hopefully we have a good cabinet. But Dr. Oz holding any power of position is bullshit. And this is actually the decision of Donald Trump that I'm quite disgusted in. So let's talk about that. Who can give me more information about what Dr. Oz is doing? Because that's just a stupid.
Posted the link in the chat.
And sorry for the noise. As you guys can hear, I am cooking. So I will take a look at that and then get back to you guys. But Marshall, do you have idea of what Dr. Oz is doing in the administration?
No, I have the same response to it as you do. Like,
okay,
that TV motherfucker needs to be nowhere near the government.
I did want to respond to the title though, like from a progressive standpoint. I think it's I think Democrats will learn from their mistakes. I think they try to. Okay, the problem with the Democrats, like they keep trying to put the thumb on the scale. To make certain things happen that if you just, if you touch grass, you realize, oh, that's not going to happen. And to the degree that it was possible for Harris to win, they screwed it up by not listening to their constituents. Like they just didn't listen to them at all. it's very obvious that, it had nothing to do with, social issues, everything to do with economic issues, had everything to do with foreign policy, with immigration. Those like the three main things that they had to address properly. And instead of addressing in a way that's real to people, that was authentic, the way they actually had good policies behind it, they dropped the ball on that. You can tell, and the results is the fact that it's the Democratic base did not turn out. People were turned off. They tried to. I think recently I saw a report that that the Liz Cheney ads they were running, right, trying to get anti-Trump Republicans to vote for him, didn't work. And to the degree, even if it did get anti-Trump voters to vote for, anti-Trump Republicans to vote for Kamala, it turned off the rest of the base. So it ended up having a negative impact on her campaign. So I think the Democratic establishment is out of touch with the base. The base did not show up, and I don't think they're gonna. I think they're trying to blame everyone else but themselves. And I guess we'll see in 2022 whether they learn their lesson or not. I mean, or if they get lucky and the economy doesn't improve and voters decide to punish the current administration, by voting them out. We'll see. I mean, it's hard to win when you have bad real life, effects. And if you don't, work hard trying to convince the people that you have a plan, or what you're doing right now, it's bad, but you're gonna improve it, in the next thing. Because it was last thing here, no matter who, whether it was Trump or Biden that won, in 2020, it doesn't matter. If you had the same economy, no matter what, going from 8%, and even if you got it down to 2%, people still aren't feeling it. You would have had a hard time winning an election. So that's when you got to work hard to get people to believe in you. And if you don't get people to do that, you're not going to win. And that's what Kamala failed to do. That's what the Democratic Party failed to do.
Well, listen, you don't got to worry about 2 years from now, 2026. The Democrats, for one thing, Democrats offered nothing. The only thing they offered across the board was death. That's it. There was nothing financial that they were offering. And this is a capitalist country. We are people that own businesses. We're independent. Most of us want a smaller government just to get out of our way. We don't want a big government giving us stuff and doing all this extra stuff that we don't need. We want our government small and out of the way. Right now, we all watched what happened over the last 4 years. We watched everybody's bank accounts and businesses and everything go upside down. We've lost so much financially. We watched the worst inflation, and I don't even know how long it's been since we've ever even seen this, not in my lifetime, at least. And we had just came from one of the greatest economies in American history from 2016 to 2019 before the pandemic. So the fact is, if it comes down to death with the Democrats or, better economy with the conservatives, your conservatives are going to win every time. I mean, butter is already down $1 just since Trump has been won on November 5th. Prices have already started going down. So that's already an improvement. That's a net positive compared to what we were going to have if Kamala would have won with her polls. I don't even understand how people even call it a close race. They had nothing to offer besides death. So you don't got to worry about them in 2 years, because they're not going to come back and offer a better financial solution. That's not what they're offering. They were never offering that. The whole purpose of Democrats was basically to just try to help. They pretended they wanted to help poor people. So that's why people claim to be Democrats to this day, because they remember welfare and government cheese and social programs like Section 8 and basically just communist stuff that was going on around the country. People who don't want to work will be enabled, and people who do want to work will pay for it. Nope. Now that people are becoming more politically intelligent, they understand on which side they are. It's not just an emotional decision anymore. There's too much information going around for people to remain ignorant. So
So I think it's just going to get better over the next couple of years. People will learn.
Doctor, how can you say that when you just gave Trump, basically, you said that, the economy was good because of Trump in 2019. Like, no, the economy was good because of Obama. Obama,
you're completely
the good economy that you're getting.
That was Trump's economy. It wasn't Obama. That's not.
What did Trump do to have 3% unemployment before he got in office?
Listen, for one thing, they changed the criteria of unemployment, and when Trump came in office, and that's what they did to make Obama look better. But Obama was a piece of trash. Obama wasn't America first. Obama pushed the gay agenda, and he pushed Monsanto's agenda, poisoned America. He made it. He allowed for propaganda to be spread to Americans, which is why you have so many issues right now.
None of that explains the economics of the time.
Today,
you're talking about.
Hold on. So Daw Little, or Daw Thrill. Forgive me. Sorry. I had to look at your name. I only see the Daw on the front. You're right. Trump did actually inherit a stable economy, and we've got to put our biases aside, right? So I'm going to, again, be the person who plays the middle. Trump inherited a stable, with an opportunity for growth economy, and that's just a fact, regardless of our opinion of what socially came out of the Obama administration. So, Thrill, you're correct. He did. And what he did is he took that stable economy with the opportunity to grow, and he continued to flower the seeds that Obama had left. And there's no, you can't objectively fight that. You're correct.
I mean, I agree. But again, he did mess up because of COVID. I know y'all don't believe those things, because he dismantled Obama's task force, and he basically was ill prepared for the pandemic. That again, like the people in our government knew was eventually coming. I mean, y'all can talk about conspiracy for it, but that's just a fact, all right? We had the ability to handle it, and he mismanaged it, and that's how COVID got as bad as it got. But just to finish up with this, but then Trump, if Obama gave
okay, so quick second, hon. I want you to finish. I'm just going to interject here because this is where you're going to lose me. I don't think COVID was as bad as it was speculated to be. The deaths, this actually came out as a fact. People who died were automatically identified as death with COVID. There are many people who work in, sweetheart, what are the people who work in graveyards called when they mortuaries or morticians, right? There were tons of morticians that were told to label dead bodies as death from COVID when COVID had nothing to do with it. So I want you to understand my perspective. I believe that the fear of so many people potentially dying from was a part of push nation because they believed that was going to help people. So I just need you to understand that is my wholehearted belief. So are we talking about?
I don't even believe. I agree.
I agree with what you're saying. But here's the thing. Hold on, doctor. I agree with what you're saying, but again, the problem is, there was a government agency, a government apparatus that Obama created to prepare for a situation like that. He dismantled it. All right, that's on Trump. That's on him. I'm not saying that COVID wouldn't have happened. I'm saying that it wouldn't have been as bad, right?
Okay,
So,
and you know what? You're right.
Saying.
I don't think that he was prepared for that. I don't think many presidents, truth be told, in something like that would perfectly know how to execute it. So did he fuck up in a couple of ways, or would there have been better options for him to do it? 100%. God forbid another outbreak happens. I think Trump's a little bit more prepared and has some lessons learned from his first 4 years on what to do moving forward. So I agree. I don't think Trump is perfect. I'm going to be one of the few Republicans, proud MAGA people that you will hear that says Trump is not perfect. He's made serious fuck ups, but I stand in his shit.
Hold on, doctor. Hold on. This one going.
No, you keep saying hold on. Why you keep dominating the thing?
Because you talking up, bro. You talking.
No, you've been talking all the time, bro. Why you still talking?
I haven't, bro. You've been talking for now.
You've been talking the last 5, 6 minutes.
Again, it's like he's giving Trump all these accolades, but then once we get to the Democrats, all of a sudden, all the accolades drop, right? Because if Obama gave Trump a good economy, it would make sense that Trump gave Biden a bad economy. Correct?
COVID happening. Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. So yes. Now he didn't do it because without COVID. He did it because of a global impact. So truth be told, everything and every economy across the world, for the most part, went to shit. Can we at least admit that Trump and the United States is not the only country to literally eat shit because of mishandling?
Correct. I agree with you.
Okay,
but that's not the point I'm getting.
Love it. No. I wanted to just make sure that we weren't saying that the United States morally fucked up compared to everybody else. So yes, under the pretext of because of COVID and his mishandling, Biden adopted a pretty shitty economy because of the horrific events that were happening in the world. Yes, you are correct. That's a fact.
All right. So now, when it comes to Biden, like he's getting all the shit, right? He had the 8 to 9%, inflation due to the effects of everything that happened during COVID. I ain't trying to get into particular. I'm saying like due to COVID, we had like an inflationary event, right? And people are saying that it's Biden's fault for that. Like no, like it really is both. You know what I mean? Because cause both of them have policies that contributed to it, right? But now Biden had 4 years to get inflation down, right? And he successfully got 8-9%,
There's only one thing in this world that will love you more than itself.
Sorry, it was not to like what it was 2.1 last time I checked. I'm not sure what it is now. You know what I mean? And now that we're at the end, towards back to where the Federal Reserve and most other world banks, central banks like that. I ask for your opinion on whether you like central banks not like that. I'm just saying as a factual matter. Now we're down to where they like it at. You know what I mean? And we're starting to see prices fall. People are giving Trump.
Okay, so I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna interject here. So can we admit that inflation rates have decreased decreased? Excuse me. Correct. Can we also admit he lied about the job market and that inflation had fixed itself? Yes. So these are all objective truths. Did he fix the shithole that he adopted at the beginning of his presidency? We will give him that. That is objectively true. Has he made some serious errors or had advisors with lies told to us? Correct. If inflation is down and that's been proven while everything balanced out, great. Is the cost of living still shit for more Americans than not? Yes. Both presidents are held responsible for the shit that we are in right now. And here's the matter of the game, okay? Trump is going to pick this up right when we finally have gotten to a point of we're no longer in COVID. People are now able to work. We've gotten all of this bullshit bullying behind us, and I pray that he makes it thrive. I don't know what else to say, right? It's like Ginsburg, her death. Okay, Ruth Ginsburg died, and that was the numbers game. Had she stepped down earlier, Obama could have replaced her with a Democrat, but she didn't. And so because of numbers and because of timing, Trump happened to be president, he was able to put in who he wanted into the Supreme Court. So, by time, not by anything else, Trump is coming in at an opportunity to either rebuild America because we're in a position to rebuild or completely fuck it up. And it wouldn't matter if it was Kamala coming in, if it was Biden who won again, it doesn't matter. This is the time to come into America and make a change. Now, is he going to take all of the credit? Because every president is a narcissistic fucking son of a bitch that wants to go down in history for doing amazing things. Yes.
That's my main point. He's going to take all the credit.
But who wouldn't? But who wouldn't? Kamala would have done the same thing if she got in and she was able to build it back up. That's all I'm saying. They all do. They're politicians. They care about their life. They care about making the history books, and they're going to inflate it. They all do. And that's okay. But at least we can have these objective conversations, right?
Right. I just want to clear the record because, the way Dr. Rico is speaking it, like Trump did no wrong, didn't mess up at all, and all this is Biden's fault. Like that's where he was about to go. Like all of a sudden, all these prices started to drop because Trump got in office. Like, no, they were dropping before.
I will say, though, that
months.
crypto, a lot of markets, because he's business orientated and not so much into socialist programs like Kamala wanted to, he did have a massive influx or effect on the Dow, right? So we did have people's portfolios went up like crazy within hours of Trump being elected president because they know how he operates in business. We can at least admit that, right?
I mean, right, but again, like a lot of people are just now noticing that prices have been falling. They've been falling for months.
What do you mean?
It's like for some reason people give Trump all the credit, but Biden don't get no credit for nothing he's done.
Biden gets credit
for the infrastructure.
The fact of the matter.
Don't give him credit for labor relations, y'all, right? Especially I remember like this right wing who say take a union member. Like, man, Trump is anti-union. He's gonna get rid of the NLRB. What are you talking about? So
you said that in 2018. Why didn't he get rid of it? Because you guys make up lies a lot too.
See, the fact of the matter is, right, like the economy has historically done better under Democratic leaderships, right? But that's as it relates to corporations and investors and stuff. But the GDP, I don't know that the GDP correlates directly to everyday Americans' pockets. You know what I'm saying? Like when we speak about this economy that's going so well, like unemployment rates that are going low, like have we forgotten about this whole ghost jobs debacle and like people literally couldn't find jobs under the Biden administration?
I was gonna say I knocked about $6,000. The two things that were on the top of voters' minds when I talked about were the economy and control on the border, immigration. But the economy. The Democrats made a fateful blunder by focusing on abortion rights, which they picked up out of the 2010 legislative cycle, being effective for them, and stopping the, quote, red wave at the time. And so some of the Democratic Party leaders sometimes they grasp that. Was that it was the economy. It wasn't that Donald Trump had handed Joe Biden a shitty economy. It was that people largely believed that a Joe Biden economy was less affordable than a Donald Trump economy. And that's just the way that kind of rolled off. If the Democrats had focused more on the economy, maybe they'd have done a little better.
Well, I mean, the numbers confirm that. That's really how to assume. We can look at the numbers of the cost of living, the cost of goods, the cost of everything went up. And what do we get in return for it? Access to unlimited abortions even after the child is born. So basically any death now in the world can be attributed to late-term abortion because there's no restrictions anymore. That's the only thing they were offering. That's the only thing we got for destroying our economy and putting us into two wars that we cannot afford. And it wasn't worth it. Not for the American people, maybe for contractors, maybe for certain people that make money in those industries. But overall, it's a net negative.
Of course, they can afford it. We literally only spend 1% of our budget on affordable. Of course, there is an audit. You are getting into this idea that the Pentagon can make up dollars. The Pentagon cannot make up fucking dollars. They are appropriating a set sum by the House of Representatives every year through the budget.
The day before 9/11, Rumsfeld said $2.3 trillion was unaccounted for.
That's not the point. I don't want to hear. Budgets are put together every year.
Hey, bro,
They are signed by the President of the United States. They are.
Don't mind somebody else.
If you would like to know,
Marshall, don't mind somebody else. I'm not here.
Marshall, go lie to somebody you know. 1%. Marshall, you don't know the percentage because there's no budget.
Foreign aid and war.
Marshall, nobody knows
You cannot balance the back of the American budget on the
this argument is over, bro. You don't have the information to say that either way.
If you don't believe me, look up what the House of
What would I believe? I'm a vaccinated
adult. You're not. There's nothing to believe, Marshall. You don't know what you're talking about when it comes to
I know
anything.
exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. The House of Representatives, the chamber who controls the fucking purse.
Marshall, listen, go lie with somebody in the other room in your house. Say you have a girlfriend or somebody go lie.
Hold on a minute.
Pentagon.
Y'all are
every
talking
fucking
past
year.
each other. Hold on, Marshall. Hold on. Y'all are talking past each other. Yes, they have a budget. However, the past many years, they can't account for funds that have been allotted to them. This report just came out again, like the 7th year in a row. They cannot account for the funds.
So we don't know.
So this is a problem. I don't care if you're Democrat. That is a problem.
He was thinking because you couldn't get money that Congress is allocated is actually allocated. My point is the House allocates a lump sum of money to the Pentagon and defense spending. And the Pentagon and defense spending do X, Y, and Z with a total number of appropriations.
We don't know what X, Y, and Z are. That's the problem.
I'm not disagreeing that you can't tell where some of the funds come from.
They cannot account for billions and billions.
No, from the House, the number of appropriations from the House. The lump sum doesn't fucking matter, Marshall.
Here's why it doesn't matter.
They're allocating $900 billion.
Yes.
That's the annual defense budget. That's the annual defense budget.
Honey. But the problem is, they can't tell the taxpayer where their fucking money went.
Yes, but it doesn't mean
what does it not mean?
It doesn't mean that the House allocated $500 billion. They can't afford it. They can't account for it. It means it doubles to $700 billion, right?
I never heard anybody say that.
One day, Congress must have allocated a larger sum of money than what you could see.
No, I actually didn't hear him say that, and that's why I'm saying I think y'all are talking past each other. The money that has been allotted to them, we do not know, nor do they, allegedly, know where the money went. Now, I don't understand how we are not up in arms. I don't understand how this isn't on the news. I don't understand how people are not seeing how they are. Actually, I do. There is so much shit going on that they can't even keep up with it.
Also, excuse me, please, sir. A lot of people don't understand when it comes to the Department of Defense budget, there's two different pools of money. One's called appropriated funding, and the other one is non-appropriated. So NAFI and then appropriated. So when you're looking at how do we make these P&L statements square, it's because they're two different P&Ls. So Congress is used to making payments to occur on obligations out of the U.S. Treasury. This is non-appropriated funds. The non-appropriated funds that are generated from sales of goods and services to the military and civilian personnel for the Department of Defense and their families. That's why a lot of people are confused, it's one said budget. How can this not be put together, have a one net profit, right? It's because a lot of times those two different entities will overlap each other and they have a problem getting it down to one thing. But a lot of people don't know there's a difference between appropriated funds and non-appropriated funds.
Yeah, I don't think we're arguing about that.
I just posted a link in the chat.
But people don't know there's a difference for it. Oh yeah, several audits have.
7 in a row now. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, let's focus on that.
This is the crazy part. I used to actually work for the Department of Defense for many years, and I would have to go through a set accreditation that would require for my whole office to go through every 2 years just to be able to function. And it was a Department of Navy initiative that we had to actually complete. So the fact that they have not been able to, and it was just a sense, a way of accountability of the programs and services that we were offering underneath the umbrella, and budgeting coming out of NAFI, non-appropriated funding, was actually being utilized and actually impactful for mission readiness. So yeah, it's bothersome for me that they have not failed it, but they required all their other governmental programs to be have accreditation and pass.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I ain't trying to get involved with y'all. You don't get involved, I'm gonna knock your ass out too.
Let
me see what I can get in this.
Hey, I mean, Kelly in the chat, I guess, do you? But why have you been vaccinated 8 times and you're still getting COVID 5 times?
I see you shining, nigga. I can smell a motherfucker with money.
I've never had a vaccine and I haven't had COVID 5 times. I'm just...
I'm broke, baby. Ain't got no money? Bullshit. I see you shining, nigga. I can smell a motherfucker with money. Even Ray Charles can see you got money.
Someone please correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they just... I saw it somewhere. I didn't click on it. I just didn't have time. Are they now suggesting that infants start a COVID shot regimen at the beginning of their whole vaccination requirements? Has anyone else seen anything about that?
I'm going to ask...
But the only difference that we have is that we don't.
That nobody outside of those towns would be able to be saved.
There is nobody outside of the context of Jews and Gentiles, because the world is made up of human beings, both Jew and Gentile. The Jews at the time, for their worldview, it's literally us versus the world. The world to anybody who is not a Jew.
So here's the thing.
That's fine, but the problem is that God doesn't love the non-elect. That's the problem. It makes it different. You would say that God doesn't love non-elect people.
Let's look at it. If the scripture says if John 3:16 has the term and the meaning that the world is the Jews and the Gentiles, and that's the entire worldview, you're either one of us or you're not. But that is the world. It would still go to say that John 3:16 says anybody can be saved. For God so loved the world. Right, and that's the entire worldview, and that's the basis on that understanding. Even when we get down to where it says that whosoever believes, that whosoever still would include everyone in the world, not just the
again, you're reading that into Jews and Gentiles. That is not limiting it to every person who has ever lived. What that's saying is Jews and Gentiles. It's saying that, look, everybody who is not
respectfully,
who is a Gentile.
You and Steve just contradicted each other then.
No, we didn't. So here's what we're saying.
You're saying it doesn't mean everybody.
Okay, but
Steve just said the worldview was Jews and Gentiles. Us or them.
Is that the rest of the verse contradicts what you're saying. It says, whosoever shall believe. It says, in the Greek, literally says, all the believing ones. And so if you're saying that it's every individual of all time, then you'd have to be a universalist. That doesn't make any sense. And so you can make sense of it in a certain way, but it doesn't mean that when we read John 3:16 and we see Jews and Gentiles, it doesn't make it wrong. It simply means that God will save some and not all, which is in the verse itself, because it says all the believing ones. Does God save the people who don't believe? No, they are excluded. Duh.
So here's the thing, though, Chris. Whenever you say all of the believing ones, that whosoever shall believe on him should not perish but have everlasting life, that's when your theological differences come back in, because you then say, well, not everybody, because of total depravity in the Calvinistic understanding of it, which, as you said, in Calvinism, total depravity and total inability are the exact same thing. The same way.
The same. No. That's the same for all.
No, it's not.
So yes, it is.
No, it's not. And here's the thing.
You either give me an argument. So
I'm about to.
Then.
I'm about to. Because what I was saying.
Let me say
what I'm saying.
Over me. Just give me a second to frame this. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to give me an argument that people are not totally depraved, that they have an island of goodness, or you're going to give me an argument that because there is the drawing of stuff, that is the drawing. Which one is it?
So, when you say total depravity and equals total inability,
yeah, everybody agrees with that.
I don't.
Why?
Because
which argument are you going to take? Are you going to tell me that there's an island of goodness? Or are you going to tell me
I'm going to tell you my argument from my standpoint, not from yours. Because whenever you put somebody in a box and say this or that,
are available to us. Go ahead. If you got something unique, I want to hear it.
What I'm saying is that total inability is the absolute no way that you can come to God. Right? You have no ability to do so. So even if you hear the gospel, you cannot come to God. You can't say, you know what? The preacher told me the truth when he said I was a sinner.
Right. Unless what?
Now, total depravity, that happened with the fall of man. Right? We both agree with that.
Are you telling me that God draws all men unto himself, John 12:32, which is the Arminian understanding, or are you telling me that there is an ability for human beings, because they don't have total inability, that there is some inherent ability to hear the gospel and accept it? Which one is it? Is it that God is drawing all men unto himself, which is Arminianism, or is it that God leaves an ability in all of us to be able to positively choose him? Which one is it?
God draws all men through the preached gospel message, and man has the ability to come because of that message.
Great. So you're taking the Arminian view. Okay.
Look, it may be what part of what they believe.
Right.
I'm
not
Christian.
saying you believe it. I'm not saying Arminians believe it. I'm just saying in this one point you agree with the Arminians.
Okay.
But guess what? That also gives you total ability, because what you're saying is that the drawing is the work of the Holy Spirit outside of man that allows for a human to positively choose. Okay? So that is still total inability, Jordan. You just don't realize or even taught poorly.
No, it's not total inability, because in the Calvinistic understanding, listen to what I'm saying. I know you don't. I know you don't, because the truth is, when we say Calvinists, we're actually talking about the doctrine.
Yeah, but you don't even.
And all of that.
We're not even talking
about
Calvinism right now. We're talking about what you believe. I don't care what Calvinists believe.
And I told you what I believe.
No, but
you're trying to philosophize what I believe.
No.
And I'm telling you simply what I believe.
Jordan, I'm trying to clarify what you believe. Okay, so and there's there's no reason we have to be upset and talk over each other. Me and G have been talking for 2 hours and it's been fine. So let's bring it down a notch. So what I am saying is that you are saying that the power of the Holy Spirit to draw all men unto himself is the drawing by which all men will be able to exercise their free choice. Is that what you're saying?
Do you know what you're saying?
Well, hold on. Let him answer. So, Jordan. So,
What I'm saying, and listen to me clearly, because I've said it clearly.
Okay.
Now, the gospel is the invitation. But you have a choice if you will go with the invitation or not.
Okay.
Now,
yeah, we
understand
agree. That's fine.
And now, you can philosophize however you want, but simply speaking,
I'm not trying to philosophize it. I'm trying to clarify what you think.
No, you're trying to philosophize when I'm telling it to you plain and simple. The gospel message is the invitation. It is the method in which the Holy Spirit invites people.
So is there
you have the ability.
Okay,
you have the ability, Chris, to accept or reject that gospel message.
Okay, so this is what I'm trying to clarify. Is your ability to accept or reject the gospel message part of the power of the Holy Spirit working in your life to draw you? Or is it your own power as a human being that you can repent and believe on your own without any aid of the Holy Spirit? Which is it? I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. I'm trying to keep everything very concise. Is it that you are drawn by the power of the Holy Spirit, right? And then you exercise your free will, or is it that you hear the gospel and you exercise your free will outside of the power of the Holy Spirit? If our will, in order for your will to bring about your salvation, in the second one, the Holy Spirit is providing the gospel to the world, and then each man is making up his decision in his own power, the power of his will. Which one is it? It's okay if you don't have an answer. I'm just trying to clarify your own doctrine.
I told it to you as clearly as I could.
Okay, so you don't want to answer my question because you think I'm trying to trap you or something. I'm not trying to trap you.
No.
Can you answer my question? I mean, because you keep saying things and you're saying them imprecisely, and I'm trying to give precision to what you're saying.
No, I think I've said it pretty precisely. You're just trying
to... Well, you
think
so, but literally no one else thinks so. Literally 0 people think you're being precise. They think you're weaseling. And so what I'm trying to do is give us your actual belief.
Let me say this, Chris, before I go, because I'm about to get up out of here. Y'all having a dialogue, but it was good. Yeah, it was good having a conversation. A lot of people don't know we have had conversations in the past without this many people being in the room. So, I look forward to having another conversation. So,
yeah, man. We're gonna get you there, man. Even if you don't become a Calvinist, we're gonna continue the Calvinists or Christians.
Can I ask you
one second? Big G, I left you a back.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna reach out to you, bro. I got
ask a question before you leave.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you said something earlier with Chris in regards to what's within the pale of orthodoxy and what's not, right? And you've done quite a few stages where you basically come out with things saying that you don't believe that Calvinism is within the pale of orthodoxy. Fine, that's your position. I can't be mad at you for that. Well, I could be, but it's fine. So then my question is very simple. If they're not within the pale of orthodoxy and they're not Christian based on your observation of the doctrine, why haven't you given them the gospel? Did anybody get my question?
I have. I wouldn't say everybody, because we get so caught up into arguing based off the doctrines. But we have had, believe it or not, we have had people come and you got cut the cross mob and said that they were on the fence of Calvinism, or they were considering it, and God was able to use me and others in that room, with the word of God, and giving them the gospel and sharing with them the truth. So it might not happen in every conversation like tonight. It didn't go forth tonight because we're arguing doctrinally. And I think that's something that
God is a lack of belief. You don't even know what lack of stuff. But that's like saying
you're
Like some friends, enjoy the show, so we can have conversations like this continuously.
When I heard Schools, Chuck Norris, John Wayne, fucking take on why America is gonna defeat Mexico.